Sitting by.
Shh. Be very, very quiet because March is arriving quietly tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show, which is brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, the folks at 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. Going to be soon doing a transition over from winter to spring, but for now, if you've got to get some winter weather stuff, well, chances of anything happening right now are fairly non-existent for the next week or so. But you can head over to Omni and maybe pick up what you might need next year, like snow blowers or shovels or spreaders, or maybe stock up on mag ice pellets and flakes or Pelledo. And of course, there's always rock salt. Lowest prices in the tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, New York. 631-756-1125 is the telephone number. And as Joe Rayo always tells us, the website is
OmniTrueValue.com. And there you go.
Yeah, there you go.
I thought for a second you were going to. I thought for a second you were going to do your Elmer Fudd. Be very, very quiet.
Well, I was kind of going down that road, but I don't want to trigger off a copyright violation or anything like that. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Just got the O for Omni in the lower. There we go. Now it's on the screen. Because I got us centered tonight on the screen, or at least trying to get us centered. So anyhow, here we are. It is a Monday of a new week, the last day of the month. I just feel like it was Thanksgiving. Maybe because I was sick for that whole stretch, but these last couple of months have just sort of flown by. Particularly this month, it just flew by.
It really did. Of course, you were ill. I was heading well south when we moved into the beginning of December. And yeah, you're right, Joe. I mean, like the last couple of months, December, and so different in that December was so very mild, and then we had one of the colder months of January that we've had, at least in recent years, and now February going by the board in a few hours, and we move into the month of March. And what will the crazy month of March have in store for us?
Well, all through this winter, we've had these short breaks. We had one after the big snowstorm at the end of January, then we had another one sometime during February. Now we seem to be having one of these break periods here in early March. I'm kind of at a loss to figure out where the long range is going because there's a lot of things happening way upstairs in the stratosphere. You're getting a polar vortex split at the end of this week, but it doesn't quite. It splits and then it gets reabsorbed by the still rather strong main polar vortex. But there's some debate over what that polar vortex is going to do. Is it going to migrate back towards Siberia, or is it going to hang around over Greenland or northeast Canada? It just sort of goes by whatever run you want to look at. And then you have the European, which has been really on top of this vortex split, and that's taking you in one direction. The GFS late this afternoon all of a sudden got very blocky up in the northern latitude. So I'm kind of at a loss after this week as to what may happen beyond that. But we can say, at least for this week, that it's a quiet week. The weather systems are weak that are moving through. The most exciting thing that'll happen is a temperature change up one day, down the next, except here in the south where it's going to warm up quite nicely. And that's really about it. There's not going to be much precip during this work week either to talk about.
No, there may be a couple of spritzes and sprinkles here and there. And unfortunately, from this vantage point, it's still only Monday, but it looks like right now, I'd have to say the first weekend of March looks to be a bit on the damp side, with showers arriving during the day on Saturday and maybe lingering on into Sunday. And no, snow lovers, it doesn't look like we're going to be seeing enough cold air arrive so that we may see some snow mixing in. I think we're going to be basically talking about just rain or shower activity here later again Saturday on and through Saturday night and Sunday. That's how it looks right now.
Yeah, pretty much on the same page. The only spot in the U.S. that's having any kind of issues is up in the Pacific Northwest, Joe. They've got. I love when they use these sort of cliched phrases like the river of what are they calling it? River of moisture or something coming in off the Pacific. You have a series of storms that are coming in. Uh, that's not unusual up there, but it is producing mountain heavy snows, heavy rains, also temperatures that are going to be a bit on the warmish side. So you've got avalanche issues and you know, which that's something that happens up that way. But that really is about the only spot in the U.S. that's going to have any real issues this week. Next week, I think things still change. Things change. Does get a little bit busier, and as you said, the weekend there will be issues. No severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center that I saw. They've got nothing predicted all week long, which is the first week of March. Usually there's something around, but atmospheric river. Yeah, thank you, Timothy. Category 4 atmospheric river. Really, I'm surprised that they don't have that, trademarked and copyrighted, and they sell sponsorships for it. So, anyhow, shall we get rolling?
I think we shall. Let's see, it's 7:38. Let's see if we can actually stretch this show out to at least 8 o'clock, considering the lack of anything really to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I will tell you, Joe, the grass here is getting greener by the day. The daffodils are all in bloom, and it's today we got up into the mid and upper 50s, and I'm really looking forward to 70 or better. I even put some of my plants outside today to get a little sun, so that's a nice thing. Folks on the chat board, welcome tonight. And for those of you who are new to the Joe and Joe Weather Show, welcome aboard. Just subscribe to my YouTube channel with your Gmail account so that you can be notified every time the Joe and Joe Weather Show is on, which is from Sundays at 11:30 Eastern Time. I'm sorry, at 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and Monday through Thursdays we're usually on at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And Fridays and Saturdays, Joe and I usually take those 2 days off, unless there's some kind of storm brewing or there's a storm in progress. What's the matter?
Why nothing. I'm just looking at something here at the top.
Oh, I thought maybe
I'm just looking at the top here. I'm wondering.
I thought maybe you were wiping the dust off your screen.
No, I was not.
Okay.
I was not. I was just looking at the. I'm looking at the at the top of the screen. I'm saying to myself, why does this look so unusual? And then I'm realizing that it's looking at the upper part of the desk here. So.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
All right.
That'll change in
case. And why
whatever.
not? Okay, let's go to the watches and warnings map and see if we can find any. There aren't many. Again, it's all up in the northwestern part of the U.S. That bright blue is avalanche warning. Is it? Where is it? Yes, those are avalanche warnings. Avalanche! In northwestern part of Washington State, also into northernmost Idaho and northwestern Montana. There's a number of flood advisories already up because of some heavy rains that have occurred there. And you can see a few flash flood watches in the northwest coast of Oregon and in the southwestern part of Washington State. A couple of counties in Wyoming with high wind warnings. And that's it. The rest of the country from coast to coast, from border to border, not an advisory, not a warning, not anything. Not even a low water advisory, Joe. You know how much I love low water advisories.
Yep. Well, it's very, very quiet. And as you pointed out near the beginning of the show, Joe, really, it looks like we're not going to be seeing much of anything to talk about over the span of the next 5, 6, 7 days.
No, we really aren't. It's just going to we'll have something to talk about at least when we get, uh, toward the weekend. We'll see with what may happen or not happen in the Northeast. And it's not doesn't look like any kind of major event. Just some nasty, some rain, and that would be about it. But again, most of the nation is quiet. The Storm Prediction Center, as I said, has no severe weather forecast for today, no thunder for tomorrow, no thunder for Wednesday, and in the long range, they've got nothing with regards to any kind of long range risk areas from day 4 right through day 8. That's not unusual. Most of the time, there is no area, but we always like to look to see if they put one in, because if they're watching something out at day 6 or 7 in this time, at this early in the game, if they've got something out there in those long range days, then they're really thinking that that there could be something a bit more serious. But there's nothing after today. There are no severe thunderstorms or forecast at all. You got a small area there in northeastern Florida where they have a little bit of thunderstorm risk, and that really is about it. And I'm just trying to see where will I go next. Where did I? Oh, we go to the satellite loop. So let's take a look at that. And had a fairly nice day. There are some clouds that are streaming across the eastern lakes and moving eastward. There are some clouds back down in southwest Texas that are moving east. And you can see out in the Pacific, I'll bring up the Pacific loop. How's that? Because there's something going on there. We might as well look at it. I guess we want the East Pacific. That's kind of an interesting way of putting it. Or the Pacific Northwest. I really would like a wide shot. I guess I'd have to go to the West Coast Pacific goes. Let's try that one. Okay, so we'll switch over to that. Doing things on the fly tonight, folks. And we'll have to just wait for the map to load. It's getting to see the circle of death there. So while it's trying to load, we'll go to the radar. And you'll notice here quite a bit of rain and heavy rain moving in from off the coast of Washington State and Oregon and moving eastward. There's a lot, some heavy rains there from Seattle on southward, and then of course you've got it translating on the other side in eastern Washington and moving into northern Idaho and into western Montana. I'm sure some of this is also in the form of snow. You also have some rain coming into northwestern California and southwestern Oregon, and that again is about all there is. Except in and around the Great Lakes, we have a little bit of snow up in the upper peninsula of Michigan and on the upper part of the lower peninsula of Michigan and into northeastern Minnesota as a little disturbance moves eastward. Cold front coming through tomorrow, Joe, doesn't really look like it's going to do very much. I threw in the chance that there might be a shower tomorrow evening or tomorrow night, but it really is. It's almost a non-event. If you didn't know it was coming, you probably wouldn't. You'd just going to sleep right through it. And then it looks like another front comes through Wednesday night. I'm not really sure what you're going to get with that. So really, it's all about temperatures this week, which are going to go a little higher on some days and a little lower on others. Can't do much more with it.
Well, I said that tomorrow we'd probably be looking at more clouds and sun in the Hudson Valley. I also said it was going to be a milder day, a breezy day. I think the winds will be gusting tomorrow from the south in excess of 20 miles an hour. And I mentioned for tomorrow night a slight risk of a brief light evening shower or sprinkle. I mean, I can't make it any less in terms of magnitude than using those words or using that terminology. In other words, there ain't going to be much out there aside from maybe a spritz or sprinkle. And then later tomorrow night, the skies will clear behind the front, and it won't be as cold tomorrow night as has been the case the last few nights. Wednesday, high pressure builds in, mostly sunny. It looks like it will continue to be sunny for much of Thursday. And also, I think on Thursday, we'll actually be able to use the term windy or blustery. Even though it'll be a chillier day with only around 40-degree temperatures, those winds will probably make it feel Thursday afternoon like it's more like 30 or in the upper 20s. And then we'll watch kind of a wobbly weather front to our south as we close out the week. And eventually that front will wobble gradually northward, providing us with more clouds for Saturday and possibly some afternoon showers. And then for Sunday and maybe even Monday of next week as well, the possibility for more rain or showers, although warming up will be well into the 40s, I think, on Sunday and probably into the 50s, maybe as high as the mid 50s when we get to next Monday. So, no sign of any real prolonged or protracted cold air or any kind of snow, at least for the moment. So it looks like March is going to be coming in this year, Joe, like the proverbial lamb. Will it go out like a lion? I guess we'll know in about 31 days.
Well, in the meantime, I had a GOES Pacific. Something's going on on the GOES 17 side because it keeps trying to load this. I had a 12 frame loop. I wanted to put it to a 36 frame loop, and it just was not cooperating. But at least while it's trying, there it goes. Finally. All right. So that's a nice looking storm that's sitting out there in the East Pacific. Uh, Making not a whole lot of eastward progress yet, but there is the moisture flow is pretty impressive. Comes from way down into the tropics and heads on northeastward from there. You see it the flow from the subtropics anyway down at the I think that's probably north of the lower corner there is about 25 degrees north, and all that moisture is just streaming up into the Pacific Northwest. If that low doesn't move very much, they're going to be under, this is what they're talking about with this atmospheric river of moisture that is coming in off the coast there. It's pretty loaded. It's also going north of most of California, which keeps them dry, and you can see on the satellite how bone dry it is in most of California except the northeastern corner and also into the southwest. But yeah, pretty impressive there on the satellite.
Just noticing that I think with that big storm, Tim Beltman, I think, was the one who mentioned that they're actually sending aircraft into that. Am I correct? There's an aircraft mission in that storm now, Joe Chiaffi and Joe Rayo?
I don't know. If Timothy Veltman says it is, it has to be because his word is solid. I'm sure. Yeah, if you say he said it, he said it, or something. I wrote it down somewhere.
And Chuck Cardillo mentioning the fact that he's asking Tim Beltman if he picked up any snow squalls last evening. He said up where he was, it picked up about an inch. I did see on the radar some rather robust snow showers and squalls just a stone's throw away to my north and west. We didn't see much of anything here, but we did mention, or have been mentioning that yesterday looked like a kind of a squall day, although nothing like what we had the week previous when we had those lines of snow showers and squalls move through and everybody saw a squall. Last night, they seemed to be confined mostly to areas well north and west of New York City.
I was just looking at the surface map, and as far as the system out in the Pacific, I mean, I see a 1,004 isobar. I would think it's got to be a little bit deeper than that, given the way it looks on the satellite. But it cuts off, so I don't know how strong this low is. It's probably somewhere in the high 990s, and again, that's making that slow approach. You can see the occluded front that's out in the Pacific Ocean, and a warm front. They really got this analyzed with a warm front that goes from just offshore and then becomes a cold front when it's onshore. The WPC folks really there's another low that's being analyzed further northwest up off of Vancouver. So busy there in the northwest. Meanwhile, nice high pressure in the east, both in the northeast. It's a little bit of a warm front that they've got analyzed down from Virginia, north and west to a low in Minnesota, and a trailing cold front with that. But in the southeast, it's mostly high pressure, surface and somewhat aloft, we had a beautiful day here, by the way. It was really gorgeous once we got through the morning low clouds. And as I said, pretty much the rest of this week is going to be fine and dandy down here. So there really isn't too much for us to take a look at. So I'll just bring up the GFS, and then we'll take a look at what's going on in the upper air. Here's your front in the east for tomorrow. Tomorrow night with a couple of showers. It's gonna warm up tomorrow only because it has to. Temperatures I went for mostly 40s, maybe some 50s as you go down further south into southern New Jersey and point southward. This front goes through. The air behind it is not really all that cold. Joe, here's a second front. This one's got a cold high behind it. So I'm thinking Thursday and Friday. Yeah, the thicknesses do get fairly low here on Thursday, in the Northeast on Thursday, 516 to 522. But we're at the time of year now where if this were January, you would say a day where temperatures would be struggling in the 20s, but it's March, and the average high now is pushing 45 and jumping 1 degree every 3 or 4 days. So you could get a cold high to come down with what looks like a very cold air mass, and you can still see temperatures wind up above, at the very least above freezing, and maybe even pushing up at 40 at some point when we get deeper into the month. That's going to go out, and now we're setting up for what Joe has described as the weekend system. But in its setup, the West is getting, after a break from cold and snow late this week and going into this weekend, we're going to start to see low pressure forming in Colorado. And that's going to wind up going up way to our west in Minnesota. There's kind of like a giant warm front here that extends from there down into Virginia. And I suppose, Joe, it's possible that come, say, Saturday evening or Saturday evening when precip arrives, that it could be in the form of a little bit of freezing rain maybe in areas north and west of the coast for a brief time, and then it goes on, obviously to rain as you start to see another low forming and going up to the lakes. Maybe, just maybe, early next week, might have some severe weather to talk about in parts of the southeast. And then after that, I don't know. I'm not sure. The East Pacific Oscillation is going to be strongly negative, so that's going to mean cold air spreading out across southern Canada. How much of that cold air we see in the Northeast and northern Mid-Atlantic states remains a big question. There's something that heads up to the lakes. It also had something earlier on one of the model runs. Now it's gone. Takes something up to the lakes, fairly strong system, along about day 10 or 11, but who knows if that's going to be there tomorrow. And then that goes away, turns colder and drier behind it. And, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's nothing here that's really rocking my socks off in terms of the long range, at least on the 12. This was the 12Z run. The 18Z run was a little different. So for those of you who like the main runs, and for those of you who like to at least look at the off-cycle runs, here we on the Joe and Joe Weather Show like to show you both, so you can decide which run you like best. So, oh, look at this, Joe. Day 9, all of a sudden on the 18Z, there's a low in West Virginia that goes out off the Virginia coast and brings snow to Virginia, New Jersey, Long Island, and southeastern New York and southern New England. Isn't that special?
Is that March the 8th or March the 9th?
That is.
I can't.
That is March the. So the night of March the 9th. Oh, the sun angle people are going to be they're going to be so upset about the fact that this is timed out for a nighttime, and we all know the sun angle is so much less effective at night than it is during the day, don't we, Joe?
9 days out. It'll be interesting to come back on March the 9th, and I'll be saying to you, you remember you were talking about this 9 days ago, and what happened to it? It just kind of shriveled up and passed off to our south. Well, we'll see. We'll see.
Days and days ago, the GFS actually had, for a few runs, had something for the March 8th, March 9th time frame. Then it disappeared. Now it suddenly
and now it's coming back.
Now it's back again. So who knows and this is now in the day, like day 9, day 8, day 9. setup, and then that goes out. Then there's something else, and this one goes to the lakes and up the St. Lawrence Valley as a deep low, gets colder behind it. And then there's some big high that we're getting to the middle of the month now, and there's, what is that, a 10, that's at least a 1048 high that's up in Canada, in northwest Canada, that spreads out from east to west. And again, that's that negative East Pacific oscillation. The only other thing I did notice here on the 18Z run is the fact that it handles the polar vortex a bit differently after it splits, so that you get into some high latitude blocking, and that's probably why this run was as cold as it is when we get to the middle of the month. But there's there's uh, uh, there's higher than normal pressures from Greenland all across the Arctic region. In fact, there's a big upper high that moves from northern Alaska into the western part of the Arctic Ocean, and that displaces the whole jet south. This is a fairly blocky look here. After, say, day 12 or 13, it actually starts to show up around day 9 or 10. So we'll have to see if that winds up being the case. There have been a few people who've been watching the long range who've mentioned this polar vortex split, Joe, and say that it might lead to some interesting things around mid-month. Yeah, okay, it's on. The GFS has it. The European and its long range, I think, was showing hints of this for the last number of days, but I don't know. I guess I'm at the point in my mind that the winter's almost over. I kind of want it to just wrap up and go away. I don't know. I don't know about you.
I've had that feeling, Joe, for Lord, for the last 5 or 8 or 7, 10 years. And I think back to when I was younger, and I think the same held true for you, that you couldn't wait for the winter season, and you looked forward to big storms and snow and everything else. I'm done. I may just want to retire and go to Arizona or North Carolina or someplace where the snows are not quite as prolific as they are up here. But yeah, I'm ready. Let's. I said the other day when we had that 1.3 inches of, it wasn't even snow. It was kind of like, if it was snow, it was like granulated like sand. It was a very interesting type of consistency. And I said to my wife, I said, with any luck, this is the last time we'll have to break out the snowblower. This will be the last time when we'll have to use the snow shovel. But why do I think, Joe, that we're going to be teased? We're going to have a few nice warm days during the month of March. And as we get toward the latter part of March, or maybe even the beginning of April, something is going to happen. Something that I'm not particularly, and probably the same for you, not particularly happy to see.
Yeah, well, we'll see when we get there. I got a request to show what's going on weather-wise with everything politically going on in Europe, and of course in the Ukraine, obviously. I always found when I look at these maps with being a forecaster in Europe, it's got to be tough because these things move around in all sorts of different directions, and you have to sort of account for that. I know we complain sometimes here in across the U.S. when we get a blocking pattern, and we're looking at all sorts of different weather systems that are impacting, but there always seems to be at least a logical component to the motion. Here we've got stuff that, for example, if you look here on the lower right, there is a low. I guess its origin was from the Mediterranean, and it moves northward and then it moves northwestward. It actually throws back snow from the east and putting it back to the west over parts of the Ukraine. And then you have another system that's coming out of the Mediterranean that's bringing some snow to Italy. If I roll this back, you can take a look at here. This is going into Wednesday and Thursday, and now we have, now we're at to Friday. There's something there near Sardinia, that moves into the Adriatic and then moves northward and then spreads snow up northward through Eastern Europe. And another storm coming into France right around the time, Joe, on the 9th. So there's a 972 low sitting to the southeast of Ireland, and a part of it reforms near Normandy there, and then it moves up through France and into Germany and points northward. And even some dark blue snow on day 10 over England, southwestern England there. So the weather systems, they have a. I'm not quite used to it. Then you get the stuff that drops down from Greenland. It's just odd. Uh, I think we'd have a tougher time forecasting if we were in Europe than we do here in the U.S. Just a feeling looking at the way these weather systems move, Joe.
Well, that it must be boring, I guess you could say, for us or for North America as a whole, because here we are. We're not talking about United States or Canadian weather. We're talking about European weather now. It looks a lot more active there as opposed to what we're seeing and what we're going to see in the coming days ahead.
Yeah. So anyway, that's pretty much what's going on. If you want to look at this from the standpoint of the upper air, and you'll notice. Let me roll it back. I love running the weather backwards. It's actually not a bad idea to do when you're trying to figure out a forecast. So you can actually see where these systems are all coming from and how they get to where they're going. But anyhow, you can see there's a trough there in Western Europe. It actually extends down from Finland all the way down into northern Italy. The bottom part of it forms a cutoff there over southern Italy. Big ridge builds up in northwestern Europe, so that upper low gets cradled underneath it and just sort of rotates around and around. Look at that. That just sort of and then reforms. Take a look. Look at this, Joe. This little upper low, and then all of a sudden it just because it's all kind of blocky for them, and it just rotates around and around, and another upper low forms around it. Becomes the primary driver here for the weather over the next week to 10 days. Then you get another deep trough that's offshore. I guess that low comes from the Azores and then runs up toward England and Ireland late in the period. As a big ridge builds from northwestern Africa into Spain and France. Then you're in the ridge position toward the end of the forecast period in Western Europe. Very interesting.
They've had some very active weather, particularly around the British Isles and Ireland over the last few weeks. Some very deep storm systems, and it's literally a hodgepodge, a potpourri that's going on right now, and it looks like for the days to come in and around Europe, weather-wise. That is.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, there really isn't much else we could do here, folks. So let's do a little bit of let's do some Briller Jeopardy, and we'll wrap it up tonight. So Joe and I will save our strength for when if we wind up getting one more snow event here in the Northeast. So tonight, Joe, if it's even possible to stump you on astronomy, the category tonight is astronomy.
Oh.
Okay. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yes. Yes.
All right. This is your dark this is your dark shadows moment. Okay.
Okay.
What is the only asteroid visible with the naked eye?
Vesta.
Name the Jovian planets.
The Jovian planet?
Yeah, the Jovian.
I never heard the term.
The Jovian planets.
That is a term I've never heard before. I mean, Jovian refers to Jupiter. Is that what the answer is?
That's the first one.
The first one.
Right.
I didn't know we had more than one
Jupiter. There are 4 Jovian planets.
Okay, so then you must be referring to the gas giants, which would be Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune.
Yes. I always thought. Yes. What is the element? What element is named after the moon?
There's an element named after the moon.
Apparently.
Would it have to start with Luna or?
No, not necessarily.
Or Celeste?
It's possible.
Cesium? I don't know.
Selenium.
Selenium.
Yes.
All right. I was close.
Yes. Who was the first professional geologist to walk on the moon?
Was that Schmidt?
Harrison Schmidt. The O.
Harrison Schmidt,
Yes, the
not Dr. Schmidt, not
right.
Dr. Smith or
No,
Dr. Schmidt.
no, he was too busy on the
Ooh,
Jupiter too. Um,
he dropped a mallet on his foot and he said, "Oh, the
the
pain, the
pain, the
pain."
pain. The OBAFGKM system is used to classify what?
The spectra of stars.
That
Oh, be a fine girl, kiss me now, sweetie.
right. The surface temperatures of stars. What does
Right.
CMBR mean? Stand for CMBR. M is in Mary.
CMBR.
Yes.
Simba. There was a lion on a cartoon
No, it
named that.
was, but
Remember
it's
that
yeah,
Simba?
yeah, yes, but CMB is in boy R.
This has me stumped, Joe. I have no idea what CMBR is supposed to represent.
Cosmic microwave background radiation.
Oh, okay. Well,
The constellation that represents a goat.
oh, a Capricornus.
What is the common name for the galaxy M31?
Oh, the Andromeda Galaxy? It's
Yes,
M31, not
that is
M31.
M31. All
Yes.
right,
Well,
M31.
yeah.
What planets can you see without a telescope?
Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and if you have a particularly sharp eye and know exactly where to look, you can also see Uranus as well.
Well, clearly, if you know where
Well,
to look. Um, one
well,
year, 1 year on Jupiter equals how many Earth years?
that's 11.87
All right, yes,
or
rounded off.
12 if you want to round it
Right,
off.
rounded off. What is the second brightest star in the night sky after Sirius?
Canopus. I just wrote about it for space.com, in fact. Let me tell you a quick story. In Japan, they use Canopus to forecast the weather because usually in Japan at this time of the year, this is tuna season for Japanese fishermen, and they often have to
Oh,
deal with
interesting.
coastal fog. They have to deal with coastal fog, and when the fog clears, they can sometimes see Canopus. It doesn't get very high above the horizon in the southern part of the sky. But when they see Canopus, they figure that, we're going to have an impending storm because usually when the fog clears, that means that the winds start to pick up out ahead or in advance of a significant storm system. So they use that star when they see it low, again, just above the southern horizon to foretell what the weather may be in the coming days ahead.
Yeah, I thought Canopus was the people just rolled it up in paper and smoked it, but that's I guess that oh that's cannabis. I'm sorry. Um, Joe, can you see there's a super chat hit tonight? Can you see who it is? Because I can't see it.
I'm looking. I'm looking. Oh yes, there it is, and it's from somebody who I think is relatively new. Trish Sparatio.
Oh, thank you,
Great
Trish.
info. Great info always. Thank you both.
Thank you
And
very
thank
much for the
you,
super chat
Trish,
hit. Most
very much.
appreciated. Um, let's see. I wanted Bill Rogers. I saw your comment on YouTube. I didn't get a chance to respond as you saw my when I put up my baked fried chicken yesterday. I use chicken leg quarters, by the way, which are easy. You could use whatever cuts of chicken you want. I'm not a big fan of the chicken breast unless I do it on the cast iron skillet. So when I do my uh, baked fried chicken, I usually use the chicken leg quarters because they're always on sale here, which is great. They're like 79 cents a pound, so it works. So anyhow, that's and it's easy. It's just breadcrumbs, granulated garlic, paprika, olive oil, and then you put panko breadcrumbs on it, and you bake in a 375-degree oven for about 45 minutes. You check to see that you didn't set the house on fire, and then you let them sit in there for maybe another 5 or 10 minutes, and then you're all said and done. And enjoy. And make sure you bread both sides. So that was probably the fastest recipe I've ever given on the air.
You ought to be on television, Joe. But I mean, we're on television here, obviously. But I'm talking about like the Food Network. You should start your own. I know you have, your YouTube page is devoted primarily to weather, but you ought to open up another YouTube channel and just do something about food.
Well, I
Um,
have some
and
YouTube I have some YouTube videos on my video library, which apparently is approaching 3,000 now. I find it insane that I actually have done 3,000 videos, but I guess since 2015, over the period of 6 years, and on a lot of days I do 2 videos a day. I guess I'm up to 3,000. When I leave this earth, I'm going to leave them with quite a library of shows, Joe.
who's they?
Well, whoever it is
Your
that,
your grandchildren,
well,
your daughters, your grandchildren, whatever.
the public,
Whatever.
the
Yeah.
public at large, because it's the channel will be there forever as long as there's a YouTube around.
And by the way, you're already aware of this, Joe, but if you don't blink your eyes, you just might catch yours truly on a New York TV station this coming Thursday. We'll get
Ooh,
more into that
that's
as the
right.
week
Yes.
progresses.
Oh, so
Yes.
you don't want
Yes.
to you don't want to shamelessly self-promote it now?
No.
Are you going to wait to
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, as is usual in television, we spent over an hour, doing, filming or videoing or whatever like that. And I'm sure that 98% of it is going to land on the cutting room floor. And hopefully, I will make at least an appearance of more than 5 seconds when this is finally aired again on a New York television outlet this coming Thursday afternoon. And again, we'll get more into it and talk more about it later on in the week. But for
And
now,
and
you
if
know,
you can't watch it there, you can probably find it on their website, which Joe won't tell you until we get a little bit closer.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So I guess that's it. I have nothing else to talk about. I got nothing to rant about. I had a fairly uneventful weekend. Um, I had dinner at some friend's house last night, and enjoyed it immensely. Had wonderful time and great company. Uh, and I'm referring to my friends and not myself, as far as being the great company is concerned. Uh, and I don't know, what did I do today? I went to the dog park with JJ, who, as always, is fast asleep. Whatever, I don't know why, but whenever when we're doing the show, unlike my cat, who when I used to do a live stream, he would come running from wherever he was, and he would walk across. He would walk across the computer. He would put himself on camera. I don't know how he knew, but he would come running whenever I started a show. My dog, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. Yeah, he goes to sleep. I mean, I'm sure that's a political statement of some kind, but still, he has to rely on me for food.
Well, one of these days, if you ever come back north, Joe, you're invited here to Rancho Rayo, where we will have a lovely dinner together, and then hopefully we might even do a show from here, and the two of
Well,
us will be able to do.
I'm sure that will happen one day. Not anytime soon, however, but one day when I take a trip up back. I still got to get my stuff all straightened out with my medical issue, but once I get that all straightened out, then I can figure out when I can take a trip up. So,
And how's
Christinapedia.
and how's mother Chiaffi doing
Oh,
now?
she's doing very well. She's improving rapidly. Hoping that she'll go home either uh, Wednesday or Thursday of this week. So that'll be great. But she has improved considerably after she had this little heart procedure that they had to do. It's just a few little hiccups along the way afterward. Christina Pedius. Oh, say hi to June. For me. I know she's got 4 grandkids. June is terrific. She's one of the nicest people I've ever met and worked with. Just a wonderful person to be around. So if you do see her again, please tell her I said hi. I can actually text her after the show is over. But nice. June's a great guy, great person. I was gonna say June's a great guy. June's a great lady, and very Was like I said, she was a lot of fun to work with. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, that's it. We're all done. Sorry, folks. We get into these quiet periods sometimes when there's no weather going on. We try our best, and as I have said many times, Joe, it's far worse. It's when it's like this. I'm struggling. I have trouble completing sentences. I jumble my words because there really is. There's only so much you could say about when the weather is quiet and when the weather is nice. So I would just say take advantage of it while the weather is nice because we're entering into spring. We've got the curse of the onshore flow. We're going to see wind events along the way and who knows what else. So while the weather is decent, take advantage of it.
One thing I'm going to miss is that tomorrow night is the night of the State of the Union. And I don't know if this was the story when you were working in Corpus Christi or when you were at some of your other stations, Joe, but at News 12 Westchester, we knew that on the night of the State of the Union, we referred to it as State of the Pizza
Oh,
because I mean they would order like 15 or 20 boxes of pizza and they would put it in the break room and just because everybody had to be there and cover it and do all sorts of stuff. So I remember I used to just pig out on pizza. I told I never made a lunch or brought a lunch with me on State of the Pizza or State of the Union Day because there was more pizza than you can possibly. And I'm not just talking about regular pizza. Every conceivable type of pizza that you could possibly imagine. Red pizza, yellow pizza, pepperoni pizza, sausage pizza, yeah, meat pizza. Whatever. I miss those times. Maybe
yeah, but
maybe
you know what?
tomorrow.
Over the years, I think I actually calculate. I just tried to do sort of a rough calculation of how many pizzas uh, in newsrooms that I've worked with over the years, and how many times that they brought in pizza. And I think I got to some really crazy number, like over 10,000 times. I don't know, it was just really insane. Um, but over the course of a 40-year career, it's an easy, cheap, and satisfying food to keep people satisfied. And the newsrooms will just run out and get pizza if they got to keep everybody in, and people can't go to get their lunch or their dinner. So you eat a lot of it, which means that when you're not working, you don't want to see it, you don't want to be near it. Uh, you lose your taste for it. Okay, enough. Uh, Thank you for the super chat hit. And from Trish Sparaccio, thank you very much for the super chat hit. Thanks everybody for being here tonight. And Joe and I will be back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern time. So we'll see you then.
See you later, folks.
Good night.
Good night.